Tonight we celebrate the 2016 Star Awards, sponsored by the Rotary Clubs of Gig Harbor North, Midday, and Morning. The Star Awards banquet honors individuals in our community who, while not Rotarians, ascribe to the Rotary principle of service above self. This year, we honor 4 individuals who embody this ideal. Selected by the North Club is Dr. Robert Yancey. Selected by the Midday Club is Glenn Earhart. And selected by the Morning Club are Annette and Frank Bannon. Each honoree has been chosen because of their unique contribution to our community through service. These honorees share a deep connection with past Star Award recipients, for theirs is a kinship of selfless service. Their professional achievements, the people they have inspired, and the lives they've changed reflect who they are at their very core. As I'm sure each would agree, while their service has impacted the lives of the people they've touched, it has affected them even more powerfully. In addition to a Star Award, each honoree is being recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow. Paul Harris Fellows are individuals who are recognized by Rotary International for exemplifying the ideal of service above self. The Star Award recipient nominated by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor North is Dr. Robert Yancey for his many years of selfless dedication to the community and for his involvement in international medical service.
I'm very lucky from the standpoint of having an occupation that is portable. I can go anywhere in the world. I can meet people with a need, and you don't get paid. You don't get anything out of it except pats on the back and friends and the feeling that you have provided service to others where they wouldn't get service otherwise. My first project in 1980 involved trying to get areas in very rural areas in Asia, specifically the Philippines, accepting immunizations, and those were polio immunizations, and many times we were using Rotary funds to get the polio vaccine. We ended up getting a large number of kids immunized based upon these projects. So that was where I originally worked. My wife and I returned, and then we worked in Nepal. We also worked in Pakistan at the border of Afghanistan during the Afghan war with the Russians. So at that time, the Afghan refugees had flooded over to Pakistan, and they were actually our allies at the time. Most of the problems there were landmine related. A lot of the problems were refugee related, meaning food, maternal child health, things like that. The conditions vary, but you have to realize that your waiting room may have 600 people in it. You have to realize that there's no insurance, so there's no paperwork. Sometimes the worst possible problems can walk in and you have to deal with them not knowing what you have to work with. So that's what makes it very exciting. The other part of it is where you live, and most of the time in a lot of these projects we've lived in a small house that's adjacent to the hospital. It's been a fascinating experience living in different places. Strictly from the standpoint of a surgeon, it's difficult to walk into an operating room to do an operation when you don't know what instruments you have, you don't know how they're sterilized, you don't know whether the things that you have at home are going to be available to help back you up. The other interesting thing is that it gives you the opportunity to improvise and use your head. There's no medical liability. issues, you're just helping people. And I've done incredibly fun operations, which I could not do here, and they've worked based on the fact that it would have been a little bit too risky for me to do in the context of our present medical environment. There's two projects that I think are very important right now. They do an incredible amount of work overseas. The first project is called the Sign Project. It was actually started by an individual in Richland, Washington, and it is a orthopedic implant company that makes implants, and the idea behind it is that they make them for cost. You can actually sponsor a country, and once the country has been sponsored, the implants are given to them forever. So if they use an implant for trauma, and these are rods and screws and things like that, which they don't have. So if they use an implant for trauma, they get another one free as long as they report that it hadn't been sold on the black market. It started out, I started project number probably 3 and 5 and 7, and now there's probably 250 projects all over the world. Each project costs $20,000 to fund, and I still get reports back from the places I sponsor to tell me how they're doing. And I'll get an email a week saying that they've used this many nails on this many fractures. And the reason that's important is that the biggest cause of mortality and morbidity now in developing countries is motor vehicle accidents. So if we can help with trauma and trauma care, that's my biggest priority. And that's what I've been doing probably in my last 5 projects, is setting up trauma care with this sign organization. The other organization that goes along with that in a different context is what's called Global Help. Global Help is a project that is started by an individual who's a good friend, Dr. Lynn Staley in Seattle, and he's the former chairman at Children's Hospital in Seattle. He is a big educator, always has been, and so one of the other needs that we find besides implants and teaching for trauma is education. So we buy the access to education, we make a website, we make teaching videos and put them on the website and make education accessible for all orthopedic surgeons around the world. There's so many experiences that I've had that have been so treasured. The cases that I've done that I couldn't do here have been absolutely fabulous. And teaching people to do something that I find easy, that they might look back and say, this used to be difficult and now it's easy. It's an incredible opportunity that I've had over the years. And when I look back on it, I really feel like I've been very lucky and fortunate to be able to do it.
The Star Award recipient nominated by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor Midday is Glenn Earhart for his dedication to bettering the Key Peninsula, particularly through the Red Barn Project, which provides a safe zone for at-risk teens.
Being involved with our church and being involved at the Red Barn is really important to me. It's a way of giving back, but not even so much that perhaps as being in a place where we can change lives at an earlier age. We're actually changing the culture of lives out here on the Key Peninsula, and it's just tremendous, and it brings me a tremendous amount of joy. When I was in high school, I started hanging out with the wrong people, made some not good choices, and it took me a long time to get past that. And looking back, I would have given anything to have had someone come to me at that still young early age and speak truth and wisdom into my life. And these kids here at the Youth Center, they get mentored. They learn about courage, about integrity, what these things mean. And most of these kids are not getting this type of information at home. It's just not how they're growing up. And so they get one-on-one time, and they get to play and all these things. And it's so inspiring to see when they have these stories of victory in their lives that they get to share with us, and we're a part of that, and it's awesome. The people that work there give them good life examples in a fun way, as we help with homework. We have arts and crafts. Two Waters Alliance comes in. I mean, we could go on and on with the features and benefits, if you will, of what the Red Barn provides, but the kids really like it. Sometimes you'll get a story of, we had one in particular where a kid was introduced to drugs and alcohol, and by dealing with Tyler, one of our young executive directors, was able to get past that. In fact, he texted Tyler and just shared his thanks for him getting involved in his life. And you know, those are just monumental victory stories. One of my biggest and primary objectives is to get the Red Barn Youth Center out, the visibility of the Red Barn, out to a market outside of the Key Peninsula, Gig Harbor, Tacoma, and beyond. The sustainability piece is critical for our long-term vision. And so we have to have funding, we have to be visible, our relationship with Peninsula School District has to be really great, and it is. We've got to have the right people, we've got those. We're in a really sweet spot. At the end of this year, we will have been open for 3 years, and it's been a long time coming. So that is victory for us. Our executive director, Clint Rawson, brings years and years of service in the school district with 2 master's degrees in education of vocation. And we're talking now with Peninsula School District and some other areas of being able to be a place where we teach the kids on the KP of vocation, whether it's computer technology repair, whether it's small engine repair that leads to this or that, heating and air to whatever. But you know, a lot of the children, the teens out here on the KP probably aren't going to go to college. And the school district has kind of gotten away from some of that. So I think it's really important that we have that opportunity, and it seems to fit us uniquely well. So I think both sides, the school district and the Red Barn, are very optimistic with where this may go. One of the biggest things we need is volunteers. These kids need volunteers that will come and be a part of their lives and teach them, encourage them in the right direction. And you know, the value of that in the long term, you know, what you get back from making that investment is just tremendous. So when I think of the kids that are going through the Red Barn, boys and girls, and the impact that our team is making on them, I'm reminded of this story. As there's a little boy, as the story goes, that lives by the ocean, and one night this vicious storm comes in and just wreaks havoc. And the next morning he goes out and he sees that the storm has washed up thousands upon thousands of starfish onto the beach. So the little boy goes over there and he picks up one and throws it in the water, starts picking up the starfish one by one, throwing them in the water. And this old man was sitting up on the knoll just looking down, watching the boy the whole time. And after a couple hours, it got the best of him, and the man meandered down there to the boy, and he finally got to him. He says, son, you can't save all these starfish. And the little boy looked up at him. He leaned over, picked up another starfish, threw it in the water, and says, no, sir, but I can save this one. And when I think of that picture of the boy saving the starfish, it's what I think of the Red Barn. You know, we've got these kids that have great potential, all the potential in the world, and they just need people in their lives that can nurture them, speak truth into their lives, and you know, that's the image I have.
The Star Award recipients nominated by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor Morning are Annette and Frank Bannon for their years of tireless work in the Gig Harbor community, especially the Mary Bridge Festival of Trees and the Courage Classic.
Well, we're both retired. She's a retired nurse from Tacoma General and many other places. I'm retired from the U.S. Navy, and I spent about 10 years working in shipyards in Tacoma. So I got to build ships. Great fun.
And we were so blessed, and we had role models in my dad, Roy Spadoni, that we really wanted to start giving back. And so when people asked us for help, we said yes. And they're still asking. And we got involved with Festival of Trees on that standpoint because Mel Wick, Rotarian, was tasked to help with setting up Festival of Trees each year, and the Rotary had a big part in that. And that's how we got started with Festival of Trees.
19 years ago.
Yeah. So festival starts on the day after Thanksgiving, and Frank comes to the loading dock, and a moving and storage company delivers 16 crates of our items, and that's how it begins. And then Saturday, the lighting crew and the audio crew come in and set up all the curtains and the perimeter of the stage. And then we move in on Sunday with all our crates and start unpacking all the holiday decor that gets set up and all the support systems. So we'll take you to our logistics area.
We walk through and head out on the floor there. There's trees decorated, and they'll be auctioned off
Tonight.
for
But-
part of the big formal gala.
Starting on Sunday, Rotary's involvement here starts, where the Rotarians come in and mark the floor in 10-foot squares for each of these tree designers to come in on Tuesday and do their magic. Then on Monday, Rotarians come back and they build our gift shop. And we bring in all the trees, undecorated, but all specially selected for the designers. Festival of Trees impacts and draws people into helping because so many families are impacted with a premature child or an ill child that ends up in Mary Bridge. And they strongly want to give back to Mary Bridge. A few years ago, we saw the need for families that live far away. Where were they going to stay if their baby was in the intensive care unit? Now we've seen a need for mental health care for teenagers that are at risk of harming themselves or others. And I didn't realize what a huge need that was. And so we've just opened a unit at Multicare for teenagers, an inpatient unit for critically incident children that really need that intervention. And Multicare and Festival of Trees is funding this. And last night we raised over $100,000 for that unit.
$167,000.
Pierce County had no space, no facility for teenagers.
So one of the other things that we were invited to by Rotary was to help with Courage Classic. So at Snoqualmie Pass, we got to feed the riders who are raising funds on the first Saturday, and it's great.
In August.
In August. So here comes, I don't know, 600 bike riders with bicycles that I couldn't afford to buy, and we get to feed them lunch and send them on their way, and it is great fun.
And it starts with all the preparations, the setup, mowing the grass up there in that parking lot a couple weeks ahead of time with Walt. You and Walt have races with your DR mowers.
Yep. Cut as many rocks as possible. It's a rough area up there, but we clear it out, make room for all the tents that go up, so we can take care of the riders who are raising the funds for its classes. Yeah.
We volunteer at the Artendale Cemetery that was created in 1895, and we have about 700 residents there now. Frank is a sexton. He coordinates burials and sales of plots, and I'm the secretary, and we're a complete volunteer organization to keep a facility.
It's a cute little country cemetery.
So we chop up trees when they fall down. I have a little chainsaw, he has a big chainsaw.
We've always done things together, and it's fun to work together. And we both like to do hands-on stuff.
And we've been married for quite a few years too.
But it's rewarding. I mean, and we feel like we make a difference. We work at lots of different organizations, and there's a real benefit. And we kind of wish everybody would have that feeling, you know? You know, I say to Boy Scouts, what's your passion? What do you feel good about? And go out there and get it. And that really fits anybody. What do you feel a need for? You know, what's driving you? And just go for it. And there are spots for everybody in all these organizations that could use some help.
Yep. And I have a personal philosophy that this is the best day ever.
We all have something to give, our own unique way of living out the ideal of service above self. The stars we honor tonight have shown an exceptional dedication to this ideal, to do more, to be more, and to give more, in order to make the lives of those they serve mean more. Thank you for your service.